So the first time I tried this trick, I fooled myself so bad. So listen, grab a deck of cards and try this one, because I guarantee you're going to fool yourself with it. And let me know in the comments below if you do. So any deck of cards, no setup, the spectator shuffles up the cards, and then you ask them to remove a secret number of cards from the top of the deck. So you're going to turn your back as they do this, so they would count off a number of cards. So say they think about 12, so they count off 12 cards. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. They can remove any number of cards and you have no idea of the number they've removed, and they put them in a pocket. So then you ask them to take the same number of cards. So in our example 12, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And you ask them to shuffle these cards. So they give these cards a really good mix, and when they're happy, they're going to stop shuffling and look at the bottom card, and that will be their chosen card. So they can shuffle up and they stop here. So let's say the chosen card is the 5 of diamonds. They then place these cards on top of the cards in their hand. Now remember, you've got no idea of the card they chose or the number of cards they removed. You then turn back around and you explain to the spectator, here's what I'd like you to do. You can name any person and any place in the world. No restrictions, whatever you want. So say they name Matt McGurk, because they're a big Matt McGurk YouTube fan, and they name Spain as the place. So they literally have a free choice of any person and any place. In this example, Matt McGurk, you ask them to spell out the person's name and the place. So in this example, it is M-A-T-T, that's Matt, M-C-G-U-R-K, that's McGurk, and the place was Spain, so S-P-A-I-N, and they're going to put the next card aside. So you ask them to put these cards back on top of the deck, but to make it interesting, they're going to put their secret number back on top of the deck as well. So they put their secret number of cards back on top of the deck, they take the cards in their hands, and they spell out their freely chosen person and freely chosen place. In this example, Matt McGurk, M-A-T-T-M-C-G-U-R-K, and the place was Spain, S-P-A-I-N, and the next card will always be the selected card. I have no idea why this works. This is absolute killer. Right.
Okay, let's go ahead and quickly talk about why this works and if there are restrictions, because Matt mentioned that you can have the spectator choose any name and any place. Well, that's not quite true, because you need those two answers to have more letters in them than the number of cards that was randomly cut by the spectator. Okay, so right here I have X represents the number of cards originally cut by the spectator and then hidden in their pocket or somewhere out of sight. And then Y is going to represent the number of cards spelled out, where you first spell anyone's name followed by any place name. Okay, but the fact is, this quantity I've designated as Y needs to be larger than or equal to the number of cards cut. Otherwise, this won't work. Okay. So in his example, he cut 12 cards and hid them away. And then if you add up all of the letters in his name and then in the place name Spain, it adds up to 15 letters, I believe. Okay, so we in fact do have 12 less than or equal to 15, so it's going to work just fine. In fact, what I'm doing here is I'm using Norman Gilbreth's bracket notation to work through an informal proof of why this will always work for you. Okay, so first off, he uses brackets to denote a packet of playing cards. Well, when you have the whole deck there, you have 52 cards altogether. Okay. Now from there, what happened was X number of cards, or in the demonstration it was 12, were cut, and these were set aside out of sight. Okay, so that leaves us with 52 minus X in the rest of the deck. Okay, now we're going to focus on this quantity since these are hidden away, right? Okay, and then from there, if you remember, he had the spectator count out that same number of cards, X cards, or 12 in the demonstration, and then remember the bottom card of that set of 12, and then place them back on top. Okay, so what the asterisk here represents in the notation of Norman Gilbreth, it's denoting here X number of cards, and the last card among those X cards is the card of interest, here the spectator card. Whereas if I have the asterisk on the front before the X, that would denote that the first card in this set of X cards is the card of interest, or the spectator's card. Okay, now something that really is helpful is to not carry any unnecessary information with you. So what Gilbreth would do is he would have the quantities of interest, like the number of cards here cut, with the last one noted. The ... just means the rest of the deck, the rest of the cards, okay? So we're not going to carry around the end portion of the deck in our notation. Okay, so here, no change. I just dropped all of this. And actually no change here too, but this is a very important step. And this is the kind of clever thing that Norman Gilbreth would do over and over. Now, what I've done here is I've written the quantity y minus x, and then the rest of the deck. Now, technically nothing's happened. There's no action. The performer or the spectator hasn't changed the deck or any of the cards in any way, but what we're doing is we're rewriting it in such a way that when we go to spell out the Y cards that correspond to a person's random name and random place name, that number of Y cards is actually being represented right here, for the simple reason that if you take X plus Y minus X, you get Y, okay? And now, if these cards here are dealt or spelled out to the table, it reverses their order, and then the spectator was asked to put those back on top of the rest of the deck. So that's what's happened here. The Y cards are dealt and then set back on top. Well, what is that going to do? It's going to flip everything. So the cards that were over here, further down the deck, are now in front. And the X cards here get moved below those because they've been reverse counted and then set back on top. But the important thing to remember is if these X cards are reversed in order, the spectator's card used to be the last card in that set of X. Now it's the first card in that set of X cards. Okay, so here an action has actually taken place, and then Matt had the spectator bring out the originally cut cards, there's X of them, and set them on top. Okay, so there it is. Those are the cards that were hidden away in a pocket or something. Okay, and then we're noting here, if you look at the quantity of cards here, we have X followed by Y minus X. Well, X plus Y minus X is equal to Y, just as we mentioned up here, right? So we can replace all of this with just Y. Okay, so we've just done a replacement there, but that makes clear that the spectator's card is just Y cards below the top of the deck. So that when these Y cards, when the randomly chosen name of a person and place name are dealt out, it moves all of these cards into its own little pile. That's why we have separate brackets. And now we can see that the spectator's card is the very top card of the rest of the deck, which would then just be set aside, would be revealed. Okay, so really that's all there is to this, and it will work for you as long as this condition is met. However many cards you cut, you have to be sure or confident that you're going to spell out at least that number of cards for the question that you pose to the spectator, and then it will work beautifully. Okay, so anyway, this is kind of an introduction to some of what Norman Gilbreth has done. In fact, I do have a video or two on these B brackets in this kind of notation that allows you to discover a lot of really amazing card effects, because the notation guides you and clarifies what's going on, when otherwise it would be pretty murky and difficult to see why a particular effect is working. Okay, so if you want to take a look at the links below, that would be great. So thank you for watching, and take a look at other videos on the Absolute Math Magic channel.